And here we are now. And so, like we said, it's Transgender Awareness Week. And so I really wanted to get more into your perspective on certain things that's been talked about in the media, especially. It's been a lot.
Right,
And
right.
and so I know that you noticed that there's been such a divide between transgender women and bio women. Not so much
Hmm.
trans men, but more of trans women. It's
Hmm.
been such a divide. Now, can you tell me in your own words, why do you think there's such a divide between transgender and bio women? You know,
To be honest, I feel like it's a divide because I just think that it's a whole misunderstanding, a whole miscommunication because some bio women think that trans women want to replace them. I know I'm gonna speak for myself. I can't speak for everybody else, but I know for me, I don't want to replace anybody. I love my mother. I love women. I love, you know, how everything started. I come from a woman. I love a woman. I love how they look now. As of I want to be a biological woman. No, I don't want to be a biological woman. Y'all have to. It takes a lot of strength and y'all deal with a lot of pain and stuff like that. That I wouldn't personally want to deal with. You know what I mean? So I just feel like it's a misunderstanding, and sometimes I feel that from what I see on social media and see on platforms, I be feeling like trans women are trying to force themselves upon
so you see
biological
that
women.
too. Okay.
I see that they are trying to,
Hmm.
but I think that they're forcing it because they feel like they're trying to erase us.
Mm.
So they, a lot of my sisters are not going for being erased. No, we're here, we're loud, and we're out, and we're proud. But for me, I always did have most of my, I don't want to say things. Most of my people, most of my, are all girls. They're all women. Like I love women and what they stand for and everything that they do. Like I will always respect a woman on a different level, you know. But I consider myself a transgender woman, or a trans woman. I don't ever want to say biological woman Jade or whatever. Like I like to identify. I like to be the unicorn. I
Identify.
like to
Hmm.
be, I like to be
Hmm.
different. I don't like to be. That was, as you see from my story, I always did like to be
Yes.
different. I never
Yes.
did care about being different. That's what set me apart from everybody. So to me, I think it's like a needle in a haystack. You're gonna find a whole bunch of biological women everywhere, but you're gonna find that one trans woman that's really pretty and really, you know what I'm saying? That's not
Mm.
one. I'm just using that as an example. We
Right.
have a
I
lot of
get it. I
pretty
get it.
trans women, but
Hmm.
you gonna meet one that's like, oh my gosh, she changed my life. I never knew. And I just feel like it's a conversation that needs to be had with, a dialogue between trans women and biological women. I just feel
Well, there's
like
plenty of those.
they feel like yeah, and they try to be. I don't like that they try to make it a competition or anything like that, because there's no competition where you can't compare. You can't compare yourself to, yeah, like we look like women and things like that, but we're trans women, but y'all the blueprint. I feel like every woman is a blueprint. I looked at my mother as, this, and I wanted to look. If I put my mom on the screen, we
Mm.
look just alike. Like I wanted to be my mom. Like,
Right.
that was just me. Not saying I wanted to be a biological woman, but I knew I wanted to look like my mother. You know what I mean? So for people to be having that conversation and making it a big thing, like, and dividing it, I don't want it to divide it, because at the end of the day, we're all women, maybe different type of women, but we're all women. I feel like we should be more cohesive and fighting with each other, not against each other.
And I agree. Before we get to this question, I definitely want you to answer this. But before we get to this question, I want to ask you, how do you feel about trans women in women's sports? Because
For
that's a topic.
me,
Because that
that's a
that
big topic that
that it is.
everybody
It
is.
is.
And I was an athlete, so I kind of,
Mm-hmm.
you know, um, that's a real tricky one for me, because at that point in time when I was an athlete and I was on hormones when I was in swimming, um, but I still would compete with the guys, and I was still coming out top three, top four. So,
Mm-hmm.
and I was on hormones. I wasn't as deep in hormones as I am now, but I was still winning and stuff like that. That didn't really affect me. So I feel like our strength could be different. But now there is, when you're on hormone therapy for a very long time, you do break down. I don't want to discredit that. You do break down, and you won't have as much strength as the men. Now, I don't feel that they should be in all women's sports, but I don't feel like they should be in men's sports neither. I feel like it needs its own division, like its own
Yes.
thing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like trans should compete with trans, boys should compete with boys, women should compete with women. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, because I kind of feel the same way too, because you have a lot, and I try not to, you know, word it, to where I'm offending anyone, but I still feel like there is still some level of strength that trans women have that is,
Mhm.
kind of at a disadvantage when it comes to women, bio women,
Right, right. Because
and
if I feel
then
like if a
right.
trans woman and a woman fighting, the trans woman go win. That's how I
Right,
look.
exactly. Especially, it also depends on how far you are in your
Hmm.
transformation, because
Exactly.
now you have, also there's another topic about trans who identify as trans that are easily able to get access to the women's locker rooms and the women's bathrooms. And that's a
Hmm.
whole nother conversation as well, because I just feel like it depends on how far you are in your transition. If
Exactly.
you just wearing a wig and a dress and you saying you're trans, hi Caitlin. Mm-mm.
Right.
No, I mean, come on. I mean, it just,
It just
it's a
doesn't.
line that has to be drawn somewhere,
Right. And
So I appreciate that. So, Kimberly Black question was, can you ask her how she feels about Cherry the Boom and T.S. Madison, how they represent the trans? And that's a good one. That's a good question, actually.
so I would say I love both the girls. I love
Mm-hmm.
them. I love that they're so outspoken. I love that they speak their truth. I love that, I'm gonna lead the conversation with that. Now, we are all different characters. We are all got different character traits. Now, how they go about certain things, I personally wouldn't do say it, or that some things, how my mom used to say it, some things you leave at the kitchen table.
Got
You
it.
don't
Got it.
take it from the kitchen table.
Mm-hmm.
But they're trying to. I see what they're trying to do, and I see that it's making. If as long as they have the conversation, they're doing their job. But you know, as
But
for
right. Yeah, and
as
I
for
think I was the same, because I know when it comes to Madison, I know she needs to know how to pick up battles.
yeah,
She's
I feel like,
yeah.
well, I love T.S. Madison. I love that
Me
she
too. Me
stands
too.
loud, proud, and
Hmm.
don't give a f whatever nobody thinks. I love that about her, and that the reason I love that about her because I could never say things that she say. That's
Hmm.
just me. That's just not my character. But I would sit down and kiki with her. I would sit down and let her, I'd be like, say it, girl. Say what you mean. Say it how you mean it. I would be that, but I'm just not like that. Should I say?
Right,
That's just
right. You're
not
not
my
just out.
character.
You're just out. You're not as out with it.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
but yet I don't hide. But yet now, some things I'm gonna say and some things I won't say. Like
Got it.
some people are more open with their body parts and things like that, and what they got going on, and what they.
Oh, Jade, not again. Okay, you good?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
All right. Because I was like, not again.
No,
All
you're good. You're
right.
good.
All right. So I want to ask you this, Jade. I don't know if you're aware of T.S. Madison, Jess Hilarious has been going at it back and forth for a
Mm-hmm.
week, and
Mm-hmm.
so it was Jess had almost had the opportunity to go on to the Miss Pat show, but then the network BT decided not to have her on the show because of some comments that were made towards transgender women. So my question to you is: do you think that even if even if Jess Hilarious' opinion wasn't pleased and appeasing to certain people, certain groups, do you think that um that should hinder her job opportunity? Should that affect her livelihood?
That's tricky because I love Jess. I do love Jess. But some of the comments that Jess makes, I'm
Mm,
not gonna lie, it made me feel away. And
mm,
I'm a girl that supported Jess. I still support Jess. It just made me feel away on certain things that she says. Because I just be like, and I get she's going only going for Madison, you know what I'm saying? She's not
yeah,
going for
right.
everybody, but
Mhm,
but at the same time, she is an influencer. She
mhm,
is, a celebrity, so she
mhm,
has to be mindful of those things. Now, um, I feel like if she feel how she feel, and that's the thing she stand by, then I mean, I don't want to take money out her baby's mouth and foods out her baby's mouth, but I mean, you
yes,
gotta accept it. You gotta
consequences.
accept the consequences.
Yeah,
What if somebody that's transgender work for BET? You know what I mean? And she offended that person.
yeah.
It's just a bigger. I feel like if she looks at the bigger picture, she
Right.
would stop making, certain things. Now when they first had their power hour, I was like, I get what Jess saying, I get what Madison saying. I just feel like they should just move forward. But I just feel like personally, I feel like Jess um says things to trigger Madison, and then
Yeah.
Madison come back, and then they go back and forth. But I'm the type of person where I'm not gonna go back and forth with nobody. I don't care if you're a man, woman, whatever. Doesn't matter to me. Once I said what I said, I said what I said. Now, if you keep coming for me,
Yeah, right. Yeah, you don't want it to get to that point because you should be able to respectfully debate, your
agree to disagree. That's all I
right.
be thinking about is why you can't
Respectfully.
agree to
Yeah.
disagree and move on. Like,
Because it's too
it's
much like
crazy to me.
adulting. That's the thing. It's too much like adulting. But Jade, I want to share this video with you, and I'm going to play
Okay.
a couple of parts of it. And it comes from this platform called Jubilee on YouTube. And so what it is like there's one person that's in the hot seat, and there's 20 people that races to debate with certain things. They have a certain time to do it, and they debate certain issues with that person. So this person is Michael Knowles. He's in the hot seat. Before it was Candace Owens. Before it was it's different people, but this is Michael Knowles this time. And so he's talking about his stance on eradicating the idea of transgender. So I just want to get your take on it. So I'm gonna
Okay.
put this video up, and I'm and whenever you want me to stop in between, let me know.
I can't hear you if you're speaking. I think I'll probably in the video.
Oh, you hear me? No, you can't.
I can't hear you, no.
Oh, okay. I didn't even do anything.
As soon as you
Oh,
put the video up, I couldn't hear you no more.
okay. Now, how about now?
No, I can't hear you.
Okay. Okay. All right. That's weird. Can you go out and come back in again? Mm. Mm. All righty. So we're gonna Jade is gonna come back on again. I'm going to play a video, like I said, from the Jubilee podcast. So hopefully, this is for fair use, 1976, for education and information purposes, commentary, whatever that disclaimer says. I got to get that disclaimer up here, just to make sure, be on the sure side. But so hopefully she'll be able to hear me. All right,
Yes, I
Jade.
can hear.
Yeah, I don't know why it keeps doing that. All right. All right. So I'm gonna pull it up. All righty.
This claim is that transgenderism should be eradicated from public life entirely.
Did you ever heard of Blossom, Jade?
No.
Oh, okay, yeah, because she's like a advocate. So I was just curious. All right.
Okay. Okay.
Hi.
Hello.
Blossom. She, her, hers powerhouse.
Blossom Powerhouse, lovely to meet you.
Yes. Go ahead. I want to know your ideology around transgenderism, something that doesn't exist. It just sounds more like conservative propaganda. So I kind of want to know a little bit more about what you're trying to communicate.
Okay, I think for all of history everywhere, people have understood the human person to have something to do with his body. So like your body has something to do with who you are. Now there is an alternative view, which is called Gnosticism. It's a view that our bodies don't really have anything to do with who we are, that the body is maybe even evil, and that our true selves have no connection to our bodies. And I see in the transgender ideology a kind of Gnosticism that says that you could look like a man, you could have a man's genetics, you could have a man's genitals, you could have a man's everything. But if you feel on some deep level that you're really a woman, then you are really a woman. And I don't think that's true. And I think that the social effects of that are really bad because it leads to the depriving women of their legitimate rights. In some cases, it leads to rapes, notably in the last few years. And it also leads to women losing their sports competitions and their scholarships. And it's just disordered and false. And it also leads to more people adopting this identity, which leads to very high rates of anxiety, depression, and suicide. So it's bad for everyone, and it's not grounded in reality.
All right, Jade, I just want to, before she responds, I wanted to get your take on that.
I feel like he's an idiot. I feel like, that caught me off guard. I wasn't
right. It's a lot, right? Because that's that radicalism that really gets
right. I feel like you shouldn't be trying to erase men, women, or transgender women. Everybody, I thought this was a United States where we can land of the free, where we can express ourselves on how we feel, how we look, what we, and you trying to erase us. I don't agree with that. I do feel that, he is, I feel like men like that, I feel like something must have happened to them for them to really hate the trans community or anything like that. Now, I get what he's trying to say, but I just feel like,
because he didn't actually say,
you're not God.
Yeah, because I know you say he wanted to erase the idea of it, but not the people. That's
the idea of it. You have it starts off as an idea before you even. You know what I'm saying? It starts off as an idea before you even start doing it. Because going back to me, when I was young, it was an idea, but I didn't know how to go about it until I started seeing it and researching and things like that. But to erase that idea is crazy work to me, because when I was a kid, they didn't have that many, around. And now that it is a lot of people, when I was a kid, if they had transgenders out like that, it would have been more easier for me to transition. I could identify with that person. I could relate to that person. It's all about how the idea is basically so the younger generation or the younger kids can identify representation of them. So I feel like, why would you want to erase the idea? I just don't feel like that's my personal opinion. I think that's the stupidest thing you ever said. Just me.
Yeah, thank you for that. So I want to hear her response to this.
Oh, I don't even think you understand what you say sometimes. I don't think you even understand what you say, because when we talk about these rape cases of women in the restroom, they're coming from cis men like you. So let's be very clear.
No, that's not true. In 2021.
Do not interrupt a black
I'm just trying to correct you. Well, I would never interrupt a black woman.
No, thank you.
Here's
the thing about me as a black trans woman. I am not a threat to cis women, and I think it is harmful that you are going around here spewing that rhetoric, weaponizing this rhetoric against trans people.
Weaponizing facts.
Transgenderism does not exist. We as trans people exist. We are 1% of the population, and there is a lot of power in the trans identity, because you are sitting here spewing something to me that doesn't really exist.
I'm not spewing anything. I'm just stating facts.
I have lived experience. You don't, and you never will. But I do have a question.
I have lived experience.
What if one of your kids came out as trans? How would you
God
react
forbid.
to that?
I mean, I would obviously love my children, and I would try to do what's best for my children. And the best thing that I could do to be respectful and also to be conducive to their flourishing is to tell them the truth, which is that they're not really girls.
Oh, come on. I can't even imagine your relationship with your children. No shade. But
that's right. That's right.
I just cannot even imagine that. But here's the reality. We exist. Again, people like you do not have the intellectual capacity to hold conversations like this, because in a minute, you're going to reduce this down to genitalia, and then we're going to have to shift it somewhere else, because obviously people like you, that's where they go, right?
In a minute, what I'm going to do is correct something you said. When you said that the rapes that have occurred in these bathrooms are cis men.
White cis men, I should say, actually.
That isn't true. Loudoun County, 2021, the big case that actually ended up flipping the state was because there was a boy who wore a skirt, went into the girl's bathroom and raped a girl in a particularly hideous way. And you know what happened? Hold on, don't cut me off. You said you wouldn't.
A cis boy. It was not a trans woman. All y'all do is go back to cis boys. You're always talking about cis boys. I don't understand the fascination with trans bodies and what's happening in the bathroom. It is mostly happening.
I think you're filibustering because you don't want me to tell you what happened in the bathroom.
Who?
Me. I think you're filibustering.
Child, no.
I think that you're distracting from the fact that a boy wearing a skirt in a girl's bathroom.
A boy, but not a trans woman.
Well, there's no such thing as a trans woman.
Oh, yes, it is. You're looking at one right now.
I'm looking at.
You're looking at me right now. With lived experience.
I'm looking at
lived experience. You are looking at a trans woman who has been transitioning for over 20 years, who has lived experience.
Yes.
You're talking to an activist here.
But your identity is not grounded in reality.
Somebody that's extreme.
Your identity is not grounded with reality. You know. Yeah, I tell you, I said I had to make sure that I share this with you as a reference, you know, because it's a lot. There's a lot to unpack there.
Right. I don't agree with him. I definitely agree with what was the trans
Blossom.
woman's name? Blossom. I definitely agree with Blossom. I just feel that I don't want her to be so aggressive because that's like he's winning. You know, I feel like he's smiling on the inside because he's like, oh, I got her rattled. And I understand she's passionate about what she's saying, but she's showing her emotion, which is fair.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're in a debate with a man like that, you need to try to keep your composure. But she is stating facts because every time I'm like, clock it. But you know, I don't agree with what he was saying at all. I definitely agree with Blossom, and I think Blossom is hitting the hammer right on the nail.
All right, so I'm gonna play just a little bit more, and then I'm gonna play just a little bit more of this, and then
I'm not really talking to anyone because you keep talking over me.
In your head, I'm not, but I am in reality.
Yeah.
I'm here in front of you right now talking to you.
You're confused about your identity.
No, you are confused by the fact that you don't really have any talking points right now because
then why aren't you letting me speak?
You really don't.
If I have nothing to say, why aren't you letting me speak?
Put me on your show. How about that?
Then it would become your show, I think.
Oh yeah, I should have a show. I should have a show.
In 2018, there were 2 rapes in bathrooms, and one in Wisconsin, one in Georgia.
From men,
also because of the transgender identity.
But say it, cis men.
If you're going to describe a boy who wears a skirt and goes into a girl's bathroom as a cis man, no, I didn't.
No, you are. This is the example that you run to. Past that, you have nothing.
I've just given you 3 examples.
Nothing.
I've given you 3 examples in recent years.
You don't. You've been struggling this entire time.
Me. Have I?
Yeah, you have.
I think the trans lady doth protest too much, methinks.
Bye. Goodbye.
Perhaps I'll see you on my show.
Yes, invite me.
Yeah.
Get my email. Tell your people to get my email address. How about that?
Yeah.
All right, Jade. So so I thank you so much for giving your perspective. I wanted to get your input so badly on this because again, this is such a hot topic right now and such a trending topic. And so I know one of the reasons why I wanted you to play that clip because there's so many conservatives who think this way, who feel like there has this idea, because back in the day, like whether you were gay or transgender, they used to consider that a mental illness. People have this idea in their mind, but it's just not reality, or it's impossible for you to really believe that you can identify yourself as who you are right now. So that's why I wanted to make sure. And like I said, I have no dog in the fight. I'm new to your territory, but I really wanted to get your perspective. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think that he is poor excuse of a man. I think that everybody has their own opinion. But when he said he would tell his kids that, that just threw me for a whole loop. And then as Blossom was saying, he keeps saying a man put on a skirt and went in the bathroom. That's literally a cisgender man or a biological man just putting on a girl's clothing. I go in the women's restroom all the time, and I never even looked at a woman and was like, ooh. I want to touch her.
There's some bio men that actually do that, and they identify as transgender with just a skirt and some in the wig.
Yeah, I think they do that to make all transgenders look bad and to get out of what they're really doing. You know what I'm saying? They try to disguise it. I don't agree with that at all, and I don't play around with rape or anything like that or anything of that sort. So I'm sorry to those victims and my heart goes out to them. But I don't consider those people as transgender women because our transgender people, should I say, altogether, because they don't live that experience. They never lived that experience. They just put on some clothes and went in the women's restroom. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, experience is like me when I'm from 15, 16 years old to 33. I'll be 34 next month. So I might as well say I'm 34. That has lived my life as a woman and wake up every day and do just as a woman would do.
Right.
So I think that's the conflict in his head. And I see the points he's trying to make, but he's not making his point because of the simple fact that you're saying a man put on a skirt. Key word, you said a man put on a skirt, or a boy put on a skirt. A boy put on a skirt. You know what I mean? You won't see a representation like me, or even as her, you know, going in there and doing something crazy like that. Like that's absurd.
Yeah, got you. Yeah, so I really, like I said, I do appreciate you. And you know, you articulated very well. You spoke so eloquently. So thank you so much for that.